5 people they were.
That's a whole,
Sewer contract. Any other sewer related? Westfield discussion appointment. Okay, our property liaison has put together,
I updated you've already got this Westfield. I left it out there. Because you had made notes on it.
right, thank you.
I just tried to recap everything that we've gotten up to date. Basically, top part really didn't change. It's to review the RFP for Westfield Senior Housing Development. That was provided for the board select. I think we added that. John, put that in.
Yeah.
We have a draft RFP membership. In that packet is a draft that John planner has updated the chair himself. He's filling in the rest of the areas of planning, zoning, and the committee will have to factor in for some of the years with the 1200 basic RFP in the packet, as well as some of the popular So the draft updated RFP for chair president side will be presented.
And then basically the second thing that changed much either is just to provide the best possible advice to the board of selectmen and recommendation to be provided by the board of selectmen.
In both of those, I'd just like to suggest in both of those purpose and mission statement that we add and proposals resulting from the bid process. So that it's very clear that we're not just reviewing and recommending on the RFP, but we're also reviewing and recommending on the proposals from the bid process.
I did make some changes in the next section. Each member of the advisory board will receive a copy. The board of selectmen will provide some changes that we make to the group so that they can add that to the original. A member of the advisory board will be present in all selectmen's meetings to update the board, ask questions, or get any clarification of any issues. The advisory form is not a form to write an RFP. That is our responsibility to deliver the final RFP to Mr. Andrews. The advisory board is required to follow the meeting law, including posting the meetings and agendas, as well as taking and submitting minutes. These rules will apply to any subcommittee that may be formed in this board as well. If there are any questions about the scope of work, these can be reviewed and clarified during the weekly discussion of the board select meeting. Okay?
The sentence about the advisory board not being formed to write an RFP.
Right.
I just think we should delete that. I know that it's there for clarification.
Right.
I think in the purpose and the mission statement that was clearly laid out, what we're expecting the advisory board to do, I don't think we have to tell them what they're supposed to do. And we're providing them with the template and the edits. So, I just don't have to have it be like contentious. I understand what you're
This
saying.
is for clarification so that they keep it focused.
Well, but I would say I think that well, my opinion is that I would like them to have something that is not necessarily an RFP, but if they're going to take our RFP, they're going to make recommendations and give that to us. They don't have, they wouldn't have the authority to go up with that RFP, so it has to come to us anyway. So,
Right. We can cross it off, that's fine. I just want to make sure that the understanding is that it's the board of selectmen's responsibility to put the final product and to get that to Mr. Anderson.
And that's why
Not for them to write in
you've got, to review the RFP and then and to provide the best possible advice to the RFP. I think that's pretty clear on
So
the
it's
positive
good to tell us
side.
many times, there's no confusion. That's all I want to make sure. And then at the bottom, I just tried to update the timeline with the appointments will be made today. Successful candidates will need to be sworn by the clerk prior to Thursday, 2/24. We have the meeting posted and scheduled for this board on Thursday, 2/24 at 7 p.m. at the Selectmen's meeting. And the first, and now I just made some notes. The first order of business would be to appoint a chairman and a clerk. Minutes would be required for that first meeting as well. And the Board of Selectmen just announced we have already posted the first meeting, and all future meetings will be the responsibility of the chairperson that is appointed. Posting the meeting and agenda must be made 48 hours prior to the meeting in the town clerk's office.
And I suggest that we just add to that exclusive reminder that Saturdays and Sundays don't.
Right, and then the other thing I was thinking about along the way was that first meeting, or when they pick up the packet, that we should also include the meeting packet, so that they can all review what the open meeting was about, what the requirements are.
Does Mary Ann give you that this morning?
Yes.
I think she did it with your mom and I think that information. When we wanted to go to the page, I think. So we can double check the photographs where they should have that.
We don't, we can make sure we have some copies.
Absolutely.
I'm planning to be there on Thursday night. I don't know if anybody else is.
Well, yeah, I think we have that posted as a meeting for us, isn't that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's posted as a meeting. I'm not saying that everybody has to go, but I just think that.
Just to go along.
Right.
Oh, you can have that.
So just, I mean, it's not mandatory, but I think just to give them.
Oh, sure,
This.
we should be there.
Yes, if there are any questions, kick it off.
Is there a special form you use to post? Is there a special
It
form
had to be a way, right?
that you use to post the meetings? Is there a format?
All right, yes.
Where you just
I tell Shirley to post the she doesn't.
email? Is there a form they use, Mark?
Yes.
Yes, it looks like.
Make sure we get a copy of that form for Thursday.
Sure.
And that way they can fill out the form. I think you just send an email.
We send an email to Mary Ann Silver's office. And they actually do the posting. I ask our office to, contact Mary Ann, take it.
Right.
Make sure I check it out.
The posting for Thursday night, to make sure that it says Board of Selectmen and
Anybody have any serious changes?
Westfield RFP.
Seems like-
It was just a typo.
How about funny changes?
We want to change it to maybe, not maybe. Is that what it is?
I think it just got posted as Westfield RFP.
Yeah, the next one. Is that the one I brought us or?
Well, it may be.
Yeah.
That's why that's why we're calling.
No, it is.
One at a
It's just
time,
maybe.
please. John, I know what kind of.
I did that very good with this one. The spelling check has been correct. Is there anything else that we should have on this?
That's good.
It's very good. Thank you, Steve, for taking care of that. I'm just having Mark make sure that the board selected, I didn't know if the whole board wanted to be there Thursday or if you just wanted me to go as a representative of the board. We'll make sure that the posting is for both the board of selectmen and for the review and recommendations advisory board, because I think that's how it's been posted to date. So we can add on that item to that tomorrow, and we all set 3 people wind up showing up for that. Okay, next order of business is the appointments themselves. Steve, again, has made us a handy-dandy sheet with candidates' names listed on them. I'm going to suggest a round-robin type of voting for the candidates where you, on the first round, list your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll go from there, see how that comes out. And if if we have more than 3 votes for a person, then
So everybody have a copy?
they will be appointed, and then we'll round robin the next
Just
vote.
do yes or no.
You want a copy anyway?
And then we get 3 yeses, 4 yeses, 5 yeses.
Don't take it as
Is that
Okay, and who's got, you got a challenge?
it. Yes?
So we just give yes or no, and then we'll just, right? So we-
Yep.
Yeah, X, put an X on
I mean,
it.
you don't want us to rank them like
No,
1, 2,
just
3,
put an
just.
X. I would think.
We would go 1, 2, 3, and
Well,
then,
you get 7, right?
hey, you want to just do yes or no?
Yeah, and then whatever your tag.
And then these forms came out. We'll submit, since we use them in the meeting, we'll submit to Walter. And he can put it as part of it. And this will be the tab form. Does anybody still have a form with Mr. Mulcair's name crossed out?
I just got to know.
Mine is crossed out. Because I had him for the wrong committee.
Does anybody need to re-look at any of the, I have all the applications, if anybody needs to re-look at anybody?
Okay, now one. Nothing new here because these are the return time. You want me to read down the list, please? Is that how you do it? Or you just turn the forms in?
Can you read down the list?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we have, going alphabetical order. Boucher,
Yes.
one.
Yes.
What?
Right, I thought you were saying yes or no.
Right. Did you say anything?
I said yes.
Oh, you did, so that's two. Don Bronx is withdrawn. Dudley,
Yes.
and yeah.
Say that again.
You have a yes?
No, I said, did she answer it?
Yeah,
Yes, so she didn't answer it, so, okay, this is.
So much.
Oh, we're not gonna do anybody new?
It's on
Oh,
that.
no, I'm just saying.
No, I'm just like, you know, you're not gonna just see where it's going.
Well, that was one of my questions, because I wasn't sure who, because I
Well, I
actually.
think we should consider some of the people who weren't able to be interviewed personally.
Okay, James Franklin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do the second one again.
You know what's going to happen here? I hate to tell you this, but the reason why I suggested that we rank them 1 through 7 is we're going to have 10 people who have 3 yeses, and then what are you going to do?
No, I picked 7. I picked 7.
Right, but I'm saying that when everybody goes down the list,
Yeah, but if I have 3, and I
Yeah,
have
she
that 3
didn't-
with hers, okay? Then.
I was
those
in line with
three-
that,
and-
yes.
And so the majority of them is 3 in, but you only have 4 people.
Right.
Then you go to the next round, it's going to be another.
Well, if we can, if you can come up with 10 people with 3 yeses, Jane, then we can talk about, then we can rank them from, and decide which ones we.
Right. James Franklin,
No, let's back up one, and then we get it. And we're done.
I said yes, you both said yes, and you said yes.
Jimmy Franklin.
Yes.
Yes.
2, 3, 4. Marsha Griswold. Bill Eady.
Yes.
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 What?
Yes.
Say it again.
Bill Eady. Sorry, Walter. William Eady.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes, just put your hand in. It's a yes, so I can. Elizabeth Vaughn,
Yes.
Joe Mulcair,
Yes.
just put your names up. 2, 3. David Nilsson.
Yes.
That's not Nelson, that's actually
Nelson.
spelled correctly. It's 4. Elizabeth Pizzoli Woodrow. Robert Polilatis.
Yes.
Great. Michelle Rose.
Yes.
Yes. Bruce Sapter.
Yes.
Wayne Schneider.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
2. Sandy Slade.
Yes.
Chris Smith, was he Woodrow. And Martha Stroud. Okay. So out of that, we had one unanimous motion that we appoint William Heaney to the Westfield Review and Recommendations Commission. What?
No, I just said no.
Wasn't it unanimous?
Yeah.
We didn't vote.
I was, the reason it was unanimous is because I was doing it for what was best interest of the town. And I think that everyone's went that way. You didn't say no. So they can't speak on it.
Oh, we need to.
All right,
All right, can we go back to what you were saying?
And William Heaney had 5 votes in the first round. So then I need to make a motion at this point. Correct? We didn't vote on this.
Let's see if we get the 7 people here for the next.
Yeah.
Right now. Because drop the 2 and 1 out. It'll be the 3. We want to get 3 in 1.
8.
7 right there. 3 in 1,
7, 8.
8 win day.
There is 7.
I'd like to make a suggestion that we have some discussion on this.
Please.
Because I really think that, we're coming here with certain ideas. But there's also, there's been no discussion on the candidates themselves individually and why what are their strengths and weaknesses to the committee. I mean, I just feel like Brenda does that, that we're not looking at candidates in a way that would be most helpful for us as the people who are going to have to make decisions about the RFP ultimately. I tried to make my decision based on who was the most experienced in the field of RFPs, who was most
Who could contribute to what we needed?
who understood the project the best, and who would give us the best advice based on their knowledge and experience. And I'm not so sure that the way this round robin voting went does that, accomplishes that purpose. And I think that there are some qualities that maybe I would like to argue on behalf of some of the applicants individually, as opposed to just saying yes or no, and then hear what other people have to say about why they may or may not support that candidate.
I think if we voted on it now, we just say, you're saying to trade you, agree with it, and I'm saying majority rules.
I understand that the vote may turn out that.
We all look at it like everybody else.
Well, I guess, no, and I was saying, and I beg to differ, because I think that there were some of us that did look at it, because look at, let's put it out there. Personally, Ms. Taney doesn't like me. Ms. Taney walked out on the Board of Selectmen 3 years ago, but yet I voted for him because I thought that he had something to contribute. I don't feel that that was time. We're voting on people that never even appeared before the board, that we don't have any conversations with, but we're voting on them.
So you said that Brendan would make a motion that anybody didn't show up, and you just cross the name off the list. Is that what you want to do?
I would like to do that.
Do that as a
I think that
withdrawal?
we had 3 weeks. If they couldn't be bothered to show up in 3 weeks. So, yeah, I'll make
Well,
that.
they didn't have
motion.
to.
So they did.
No, wait. 6 people were invited the first week of the snowstorm,
Right.
right? So some of those people didn't come because of the snowstorm.
Right, so they had other reasons they could have shown up.
Right. The first week, there was an excuse because of the
Right.
snowstorm. The other 2 weeks, there weren't any excuses. We didn't cancel meetings or...
But did you get responses from them saying that it was unfortunate I
We did
can't come up
get,
with this? or-
Well, Jim Franklin sent an email because he was the one that had the 3 kids home with the structural.
Well, and Mr. Franklin, I would say, and he's another one that I voted for, not for politics, but because I know that he's very active in recreation. I know that that's a big part
You
of the
got 4 out of
recreation.
5.
Right. And actually, I think he got 5 because I voted.
Oh.
I don't have a problem with crossing people out that didn't come for an interview. The only issue I have is that Jim Franklin didn't serve on the previous one.
So he would get crossed off.
He would get crossed off, and I
But he sent us a reason. And I mean, like, and I don't,
He served on the previous one, so he would get crossed off.
no, because he didn't show up.
I'm saying that I don't know him, I've never met him, but I think that because he did a fine job the first time around, and he is very involved in recreation, that I felt comfortable voting for him. And I wouldn't have tried myself on. But, so, the only reason why I have a problem with just carte blanche crossing, I don't have a problem crossing people off, and I'm happy to withdraw my vote for Liz McDonald, because she didn't come either. But my feeling on the matter is
But I guess that's the thing, is I mean, I go up there when I can
Can
give
we,
you
one at a
reasons.
time, please?
You don't lose the forum, you have to cross off, you don't want to vote. So there's no
Right,
discussion.
but what I'm saying-
What we're discussing is the people that we majority vote on.
Well, there's Mr. Pavlidis or whatever, he didn't show up.
He didn't show up.
He's a new member, I mean, he's a resident of the town as of December. He was a former selectman assessor and housing authority in Holbrook, and he just stepped off all of them in January when he registered to vote here.
Right.
Now, I don't know him, I only did my Googling that I do, and I know that the Board of Selectmen is looking for a file cabinet that's disappeared. He has said that he doesn't have it. It was, like I said, it was very abrupt. He moved in December, he registered here, and he signed here. Well, I do that on people that I don't know, and especially people that are coming up in front of me saying that they have all this experience. I want to know what it is. Now, I'm not saying that he's good or bad. I would have liked to have asked him questions on it, and I don't know how we could give him 3 votes if we don't even know what
Well,
the
I thought I can say why I voted for him is because I was ready for his application and I thought his experiences in selecting and housing authority
And I
would
guess
make him pretty
this goes exactly to my point of why we should discuss each candidate individually. Maybe
That's why,
maybe
that's
even
what I
before we
didn't
vote.
know. I
Right.
didn't know this
Well,
stuff.
I would fill everyone that I don't know.
Well, I mean, I honestly, I do know Mr. Pavlidis, I've worked with him for many, many years, and I do think he's an intelligent man, he should serve on all those committees when I knew him. I was looking more for people who had history here, who may have been watching and paying attention to like most of the people that came before us said, yeah, I was at town meeting, or yes, I was aware of the RFP, or I was looking for a little bit more.
So someone that had no clue about any of it, I'd be glad to have them on.
Well, but no, some of the people that came before us had other. Give me an example of something. Mr. Mulcair, he came before us, and I was very impressed with his experience in construction.
And I would say, okay, well, like Michelle Rose. Now, Michelle Rose got up, spoke against it, fought against it, has written, comments against it, and yet she got 3 votes here.
This is not about,
Right.
Well, but
Lydia
what I'm
Ford
saying is
against
that, but when I looked at
we
her.
said that in the beginning.
Right, but when I looked at what she, and what I'm saying is that when I looked at what she was bringing to the table, you can't tell me that what she was bringing to the table was, say, for example, anything stronger than what, say, Michael Schneider was bringing to the table. I mean, you know,
Experience and.
as far as experience in what he's done, and yet it's 2 votes. So that's, I mean, that's why I just don't think that, like I said, I played it as what would be in the best interest of the town, and what I think would be in the best interest of this community. Look, there are some people on here that I like, that I didn't vote for. There's 2 of them on here that I like personally. I didn't vote for them because I didn't think that they would bring into the table things that we need. And I think that, and I know that I was the only one that voted for Sandy. The reason why I voted for Sandy was because, whether we think she's on too many boards, committees or not, that what it comes down to is that she has the whole background in recreation. She's open space, she's conservation, so she would bring that whole side of it to complement with Mr. Franklin.
Well, and part of the problem with the round robin voting is that we could only pick 7. Sandy, just by virtue of being was at the bottom of the list, and I had my 7. I mean, I agree with you. I think that Sandy does bring a good background to it, and she also has shown a commitment to, for example, I didn't vote for one of these individuals because they just resigned from a committee. I want people that show commitment, or Sandy showing commitment to the community, and I'm impressed with that. But I don't think it's fair, Brenda. I picked the people that, in my opinion, what I heard from them would do what I hoped to see come from this. So, I mean, it's kind of because I didn't pick certain people to, accuse me of not doing what's in the best interest of the town. And I think we all feel that I know I spent a lot of time on this myself. And I'm assuming that everybody at this table.
So can you explain to me why, for example, you voted for Liz McDonald who we didn't interview, but you didn't vote for Sandy Slavin just because Sandy's at the bottom by virtue of that she was at the bottom?
Because I can only cast 7 votes. And I did actually feel that it was important to have someone from the COA board a part of this, because they're the ones that are working the closest with the seniors that are going to be benefiting from this project. That was just my opinion. When I was thinking about the structure of the committee, that's how I felt about it. As I said, I'm not totally tied to that, and I'm not totally tied to Liz. It's, I thought, well, Liz is on the board of directors. I think it would be good to have someone from the board of directors. If my colleagues would agree with me, then that's fine. I'm not upset about it.
And I appreciate that. And Walter, to your comment that this is going nowhere, I disagree with you. This is what we need to have. We need to have discussion about each person who applied, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then come to a decision, as opposed to just coming to a decision in a vacuum. Now, you just brought some information to the table about Mr. Paulides, and she brought some information to the table about Mr. Paulides. It's not information that I don't think any of the rest of us have, other than his application. Now, that may have some bearing on it. I also think... Well, we don't.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. I just said that
She said it was information. She just said that it's information. She brought information regarding
People will look into all of that.
If I Google who you and I spent countless hours.
You know what the final year will
talking
be,
about it, so I don't do that.
Let's not go down that road.
Here's where I came from, and I really don't think Brenda is saying that anybody voted in the worst interest of the town. I don't believe she's saying that. Here's where I came from. I do these RFPs and proposals every day. Right? In this committee, as we've established by the statement of work and mission statements, to provide advice to the board of selectmen. We said in the very beginning, doesn't matter if these people oppose Westwood or they're in favor of Westwood. It's not about the plants or the flowers or the survey. It's about the RFP to make sure that it's board correct, inclusive of what we need, and then to sit and review the bids when they come back. Is that not correct? That's where I come from. So I look for people who have background in that, who could advise, who I thought may know more than me about those things, so they person to be an advisor. That's what I look at.
Well, I tried
And serving in committees, I don't care about that issue. That had nothing to do with how I voted.
I tried to look at the experience too, but I also was hoping for a more well-rounded committee, people that brought some different things to the table. Like I thought that Michelle Rose, I liked her conversation about what are folks at Westfield's going to do all day? Is there going to be any plans for activities and things like that? I think that that's a good question. And she brings some different perspectives to the table.
That's a construction question.
No, but what I'm saying is that I think that this has to be, this isn't just, in my mind, this isn't just about construction. It's about visualizing what's going to be there when it's done. It's about what that project will be, because when we put that RFP out, we're putting our vision on a piece of paper.
But like you said, that there was one person you didn't vote for because they just recently put it forward. Well, there's one person you voted for who did actually walked out on town, quit and forward and walked out on the town. So how do you rationalize that?
I didn't
Wait,
know
what
that.
are you talking about?
That, I didn't have that. I didn't.
It's 20, I mean, it's only 2 years ago, so I don't know. I mean,
You know,
that type of thing, and that's what I'm saying, is I'm just, you know, and maybe it very much is that, you know, you were really looking at, you know, with all these, I mean, we were all looking at things. I just seem to think that looking at a couple of them, it was, you know, the established things, the established criteria that we said we wanted. I see that there's a few people in here that had more of it than anyone, and yet only received a couple of votes. So I just, you know, and the ones that received 5 votes, you know, we could do the vote again, because I'll just pull my votes off and give them to the people that I like, so that they don't feel bad that I didn't vote for them, because it isn't going to make a difference anyway. You know?
So to vote just because people won't feel bad, we can be as a democratic process, which 5 of us, we all have resumes to look at. Whether the one's right or wrong is beside the point. We looked at it and we're doing the best for the town, all of us. So when we looked at it, we put who we thought was the best, and we're voting. Now, because 2 people did not get the votes, the 2 people that not, we have to go through all this process.
What I was
So
suggesting.
you're judging your question, that question, and voting on people.
Well, could we ask for like?
You don't have to ask, because we voted.
I think,
Well, I'd like to know.
excuse me, please, please. What I wanted to do is to discuss each of the applicants individually. Maybe you came here with an idea in your head about something that you want. I'm not questioning your judgment. I'm just giving myself the opportunity to say, oh, he voted for that guy because maybe of this, and she voted for that lady because of this. And I didn't think of that when I was looking at these resumes. I'm looking for an opportunity to expand everybody's knowledge of what each other was thinking, so we can come together and get the best people. Because there may be some things that I didn't think of, Steve was talking, or Carol was talking, or when you're talking about these candidates. I think we deserve, the applicants for these positions all have the interests of the town at heart. And we have an obligation to discuss them as individuals and not just as, okay, here's a number, this is where we went, this is what we picked, and that's that. I just don't think that that's right, and I didn't like that from the beginning. I didn't like that idea from the beginning. I wanted to rank them, if you recall, at least do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then try to mesh people's thoughts in that regard. But this process just eliminated people immediately before we even discussed about it. We even had the opportunity to share our ideas about why we thought they would be the best to give us advice.
It's still right when you go down there. 5 is first, 4 is second, 3rd.
I understand that, Walter, and that's a raw, what they call a raw vote. It's a raw vote, it's your first gut
Well, we haven't made
raw
any-
vote, and we
I
haven't made.
withdraw my motion, by the way.
Mark already went to get pizza. But just for that perspective, I think you can have a raw vote and you can have a gut feeling, but then you have to have the discussion to draw it out, and then before you make a final decision on who's going to be the best to advise us, because it is the best to advise us, and we should all have the opportunity to say why we think X person or Y person or Z person is that person, in addition to our gut feelings, because it might change our minds.
Well, if someone was tied, then we would have to vote again. But there is no tie. There's 7 people. Yeah, no, there is no tie. So because 2 people, in other words, if we put 2 of your people on that, or whatever,
2 of my people?
on votes, then you would go along with it.
I'm not sure who's right, 2 of my people. See, and that's the whole point, Walt, is that you're saying 2 of my people, 3 of her people, 4 of her people. I want it to be a good decision. I want to have
As soon as
open.
we mentioned the vote, somebody wanted to get up and leave.
It was me, and I did that.
Why?
I actually,
Because I have things to do today.
Well, we all have things to do.
I think we have another meeting to go to, right? Is that today? Oh, thank God.
I know.
I,
So if we could,
What do you want to do? Just,
Well, why don't, I mean,
do you want to just go to the first person and discuss it?
that's what I was hoping we
If
would do.
somebody has
I was-
something to say, they'll say, go
Right,
ahead.
I was hoping to say, I was
Does
hoping to
anybody
say.
have, all right, I'll continue the process.
Rick
Anybody
Boucher.
have any comments about Rick Boucher?
Well, the reason why that I was going to bring him,
Considering
or
him.
considering him, was because I know that he was on council on aging, but one of the reasons why he was stepping off of council on aging is because he thinks that, ideally would be a one senior center or whatever, and I know that that's one of the things that in the previous proposals that they looked at, like as far as, and so I thought that he would bring that into it as far as with the other aspects of it, knowing the council, the seniors needs, and looking at something like that they have like a gathering space or something like that to try to look in. That was, one of my main things for him.
I had two things for Richard Boucher, which I would like the board to consider. As Brenda said, he was director, he was on the board, he was on the Council of Aging for a year, he was also director of the Council of Aging. He stepped off for two reasons, one which is what Brenda just expressed, but also because he thinks that we should have a new senior center, and he feels that he can best advocate for that if he's not on the Council of Aging or as a member of the board of directors. And the second reason I would like the board to consider him is because he was on the committee that we got together, as was Jim Franklin. They were both on the study committee. Jim Franklin, I support him for two reasons. He was on the study committee and he's part of recreation group. But Rick was part of the group. He has some background and experience on the project. I mean, there is nobody else on. The only other person on this gut feeling round robin vote that we voted that has any prior experience at all with this is Jim Franklin. And I don't think I know, you can tell by looking at his resume, he doesn't have any experience at all with RFPs. He brings to the board some background because he was on the Westfield Review Committee, but he doesn't have any experience with RFPs. So when you went, I know he got 5 votes.
Was he named his board?
I understand that, but I'm now thinking to myself that, okay, I voted for him, I know I voted for him. But if you compare him relative to some of the other people, if somebody else wanted to give up a vote for Jim, they might think about the fact that he has no experience with RFPs. Now, Bill Haney, we'll go down the list, Marcia Griswold, I think that would be a conflict of interest, that's why I didn't vote for her. Bill Haney, I voted for him because, again, he has extensive experience with RFPs, same reason you did. But there are other people on this list that have some experience with the project already that I think are not being given the proper consideration, including Bruce Savageau and Michael Schneider and Sandy Slag. All three of those people have some prior experience with it, and if we were rating and ranking people, I mean, we have 3 votes. We have 3 votes for Joseph Mulkern. Okay, the guy's, I mean, he was a super in some buildings. He has no previous experience with the Westfield project. He's not really an RFP expert. I don't see why we would want him to be giving us advice on RFPs. He fixed some heating components in some buildings. He didn't have anything to do with RFPs per se.
Can I speak again about things, Judy, from you because I don't remember anything that John.
And the same with Pam Dudley. I mean, yeah, she's on the council, she works for the Council on Aging, so I think that working for the Council on Aging is potentially a conflict of interest, and she also got 3 votes.
well, I voted for Pam Dudley pretty much for the same reason that I voted for this, because I knew that Liz wasn't going to get the votes, and it is important to me that somebody who has that connection to the seniors, who's working with them on a fairly regular basis and understands their needs, is having some input.
And again, that's why I voted for Richard Boucher, because he has that and he has experience with the project. So if you want to balance those two things against a Pam Dudley or Elizabeth McDonald, who, like I said, Pam Dudley has a conflict of interest because she works for the council, and it's just my opinion.
Explain the conflict of interest. Where's the conflict of interest?
because you're an employee of the town and you're working with the seniors every day, and and she has no RFP experience, aside from the fact that she has no RFP.
Where's the conflict of interest? That's what I was
I just think on the Council on Aging has a conflict of interest. That's my opinion.
It may not be illegal.
Maybe it's not illegal, but it's an
But the thing is that I think, if I may, because one of the things that I think is that if you have someone on it, one of these people, and say we get some, the HUD 212 component in, and someone that they serve every day gets one of those HUD 202s. The issues out there are.
So this is a review and recommendation committee on an RFP. They make no decisions. The Board of Selectmen makes the decisions on the RFP submitted by the
Well,
They're
okay,
making
so
recommendations.
say we discount the
Is there
conflict of
conflict
interest.
Is there?
Like I said, it's my personal opinion.
No.
Okay, I'm not saying
Yeah,
it's like, so, but where's the RFP experience? Where's any experience with senior housing or RFP? None.
Well, my packet's getting the shit out.
Here, it's right there. She's a nice lady, she works for the COA, she does her job, but there's no RFP experience there. No. And I mean, you guys are gonna be sitting there getting advice from a lady who has no RFP experience and is not necessarily familiar with the project. When you have other people like Michael Schneider, who worked in affordable housing and did innumerable RFPs up in Boston, and came to a number of the Westfield Review Study meetings, is familiar with the project, or Bruce Savage, who also, he worked on the first RFP and has been with the project since the beginning. So I don't understand why we would choose a wonderful, well-meaning clerk who works for the town over an experienced person who understands the project and is familiar with the RFP process. So I'm just struggling with that as a reasonable, rational, logical approach to picking people who we need advice from. I want people who know RFPs and people who are familiar with the project. And again, Pam Dudley is a well-meaning town employee. I just don't see her as bringing enough assets to the table to be part of the review committee. You need people with solid background and experience. That's my speech on that. David Nelson, he came before the board. I think he's a terrific resume. He has all kinds of experience. Bill Heaney, personal feelings aside, absolutely. He's got the experience, he's got the RFP process. I'm trying to be impartial on people who have experience with RFPs and who know the project. He was,
Well, we've put this group on a tight timeline, and my concern with Mr. Schneider is that if they can't meet that timeline, he's running for the board, very well be sitting on this board and have to resign, go to the very end, and then all of a sudden we have one vacancy. That was
But that was the thing, we had talked about like the timeline. Steve, if I'm not mistaken, don't we already have the March 26th date? So that,
But if that gets pushed out 1 week, 2 weeks, for any reason, if there's a big snowstorm, they say March comes in like a lamb all by the line, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what you're saying, it's like you never get them right. And I realize that may not be, but that does concern me, because I think if people put all this effort into it to lose someone at the last second, even for circumstances that they can't control, that's kind of, that's not.
well, I think that's putting the cart before the horse, frankly. I think that should be an external consideration. Who knows what the elections will bring.
Well, who knows, but it's everybody has a chance of getting in, so, they're all succeeding candidates.
well, and I can understand that, but I thought that that's why one of the questions we asked was, how long do you think this is going to take? Because we were really looking at pretty much 30 days.
But some of the people with the most experience for RFPs gave us longer timelines, so that's why.
But I think that you're absolutely right, but I think that the previous question, have you seen it?
Right. And when you have,
Was a key question that they hadn't seen it.
right.
So they may be thinking that they're starting from scratch.
well, and I was saying,
And a
that's
lot
the
of
other
it-
thing, is
a lot
that
of
when
it
you
is-
have some people, I mean, like Bill Haney said he looked at it. Lou
Right.
Savageau, I think he wrote it, or helped write it. Mike Schneider, he looked at it. Sandy Slaven, I don't think she looked at it. You know, so I mean, like, I'll say right now, to me, those three right there, Bill Haney, Lou Savageau, and Mike Schneider, right there, as far as I'm concerned, in my mind, they get 50 points above everyone else because they actually took the time before they were coming to an interview and looked at it. And especially, I don't know who was the first night, I think Mike Schneider was the first night of those ones. Bruce was the second night, and Bill was the second night. I think that's it. No, Bill was the second night, well, whatever, but I was saying, Mike Schneider, we asked the same question. The first night I asked him if he looked at it, yes, he can. Guess what? The other 14 people or 15 people all knew the questions we were going to ask. All they had to do was look it up 5 minutes before they came. And guess what? 2 other people had the thought process to do it. Bill Haney and Bruce Savage. So that's why I think those 3 right there, because it already shows that they're already looking at it, they're already thinking of it, they're already, you know, going at it. Whereas, like James said, the other one said, I mean, we announced it several times that it was going to be online. We announced it at the selectmen's meetings. When we were announcing that we were taking applications. And we said, you know, it's online, look at it. I think we even said that was going to be one of the things. And out of all of these people that I can remember, 3 of them said they looked at it. And those were the 3. So, I think that shows a lot.
Going back to Mike Schneider Michael Schneider for just a second. I think he came to almost every Westfield committee meeting there was. And he brought solid knowledge to the table about what the HUD requirements are, what all the 202s, the different places where where the people can go to get financing for these projects. We had some of that information available to us based on the previous consultant. But you know, we just can't, I just think that you would want to have that kind of person advising you on the nuts and bolts of the projects and what you need to put in your RFP to make sure that you get those kinds of results. And I think that's, you know, again, take somebody like a well-meaning Pam Dudley, who got 3 votes, and what kind of advice realistically are you going to get from her about the nuts and bolts of an RFP and a HUD project and the requirements of the federal government? When you have somebody who's applied for this committee, who's worked in affordable housing, who's applied for those grants, who understands the regulations and the requirements. I mean, read the minutes of the Westfield review. You know, some of it's there. And Mr. Schneider offered his advice and opinion. So.
No, I think that was, you know, I was saying when we were asking the questions, that was the other thing, is that Steve, that, you know, his, you know, I guess it was like 3 questions, but it all synthesized down to the RFP process. Have you written them? Are you familiar with them? Have you participated in them? And to be honest with you, like, and I don't even know if she wants to say that. I don't know if she ever has or not because she didn't even come in front of the board to tell us if she's familiar. So I don't want to pick on her, but I'm just saying.
And I was just going to go take the second person on the list, the second number 3, Jim Franklin.
Right.
We all like him. We all think he has recreation stuff, but are we really being wise in our choice when we have other people who can give practical advice on the RFP itself? I mean, maybe, I don't know. Again, he didn't come before the board. We didn't have the opportunity to ask him, do you have experience with RFP? Even I am saying to myself, second guessing myself on why I picked him, because I know that he's got the recreation interests at heart. But has he ever done an RFP for recreation property to be rehabilitated or, I don't think, my guess is that he probably hasn't. I love him, Jim, but I'm just saying, you know, and he was on the project, so he does understand the, you know, he does have background experience in the project, but again, I'm thinking, okay, you're going to, this board is going to be sitting here saying, we got this RFP, and where can we get the best advice possible on how to put it together, put it out?
Well, that's why I think it's important that you put together a board that has a variety of different strengths, and it's okay if some people are weak on certain areas.
So why did we,
bring other
but if I can ask, why did we bring it up to selectmen's meeting when we were talking about the things that we were looking at? We had a whole what is the project that y'all most proud of and why? I mean, so you would even lean towards their contribution to a project and, you know, a meaningful thing to it. I don't remember that you said, you know, what, I don't know. I just think that we were really trying to gear this towards, you know, professional experience, knowledgeable, I don't see it really.
Well, I believe at one meeting during this discussion, I talked about how I wanted to see different types of people, what I was looking for, you know. I'm really disappointed, I mean, I guess we can say that Mr. Heaney has some finance background, but I was really disappointed that we don't have more of the financial background, because part of what is in this RFP is what this is going to generate in revenue for the community, and that's, to me, that's important. You know, what is this going to, he said it's going to make us money? Great, how much is it going to make us? These are all, I'm looking at this, Brenda, as an overall, to me, this isn't, you guys are looking at it, and I understand what you're saying about the nuts and bolts, but when I drive down Charlotte Furnace Road, I'm trying to envision what's going to be there. What they put on this paper is what somebody's going to build.
Right, but you're talking about Mr. Heaney, that he has the financial background. Guess what? Mr. Savage has even a greater depth of that background in the financial aspects of it. Mr. Savage, he was on the finance committee as well before he became a selectman. And like I said, he could probably tell you the numbers. If I remember correctly, it's about $275,000 a year in revenues to the town. I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure that it was right around there. So, you know, to say that, well, Bill Heaney has all of this stuff, well, guess what? We have someone else, and that's the stuff that we're looking for. Like you said, the financial. You have another person on here that's financial. You just elected not to, you know, your support. And I think that, you know, and again, Mike Schneider, who was the executive director, you know, of affordable housing, I'm sure is very strong as far as the financial aspects of these things. That, you know, most of these nonprofit things, they can get you down to the, you know, the penny on every single, what the anticipated costs are and everything else. So to just say that you think that you only had one person to choose from that had that, I don't think that's true. So.
Are we all done? The RFP is already written. All they're doing is review. It's going to come, right, it's all, they've already gone through it. And even when they come back, it's going to have to come back to us between the town administrator and the board to review it, we vote. And with the amount of people we have here, I think it makes a good background with everybody. And I think Nelson said this, he was right on. I come here with an open mind. You have to go with an open mind, and this is senior citizen housing. Just because they put a ball field in it does not change anything else. And it's written in there, and we're supposed to be doing the democratic process. We voted, and now we're going to tear people apart. This guy doesn't have this guy doesn't have that.
I don't think anybody was tearing anybody apart. Well, we're trying to weigh and balance the pros and cons, the strengths and weaknesses of people, and in order for the board to get the best advice. I recall, Walter, you didn't have a single question for any one of these
and I look at the resumes. I didn't do long enough, I didn't do long enough. RFP is already written out. They're going to go, even when you give it to the contractor, they're going to make
So you
changes.
voted Pamela Dozen, is that correct?
What was on that resume?
It doesn't make any difference why I vote for something. So, do we need to call the point down? Are we done with discussions so we can vote? Are you going to vote again, you're going to leave it like that?
Well, I think that, you know, based on the discussion that we just had, that if there are people who are reconsidering, would like to reconsider a vote here or a vote there. I already know that I'm going to reconsider several of my votes. Maybe based on this discussion that we just had, which was the intent of the discussion.
That's not everybody's opinion, so we will call for a vote, we'll vote. Now, if it doesn't go the way you want it, we're going to go through this again.
Has everybody said what they want to say about any candidates or any strengths and weaknesses or any particular interviewee? Is there anything that anyone would like to add to the conversation before we vote again? I don't know, I sense your hesitation.
I don't know that I have hesitation. hesitation. I mean, I think that, when I looked at the list, I thought I came up with a pretty well balanced list. One of the gentlemen, we had Mrs. Braun, candidate for selectman, true.
She's the chairman of the finance committee. She can't be on the committee.
But she said that she was, I don't think a candidate should be on this list. I originally, and still have issues with supporting Westfield. I was against Westfield in the beginning. But the will of the town, meeting vote, I support that process. And I think I have supported that process to this point. And I continue to support that process. And I was looking for some people who are not that entrenched in the past, because our chairman, who I saw on TV many times, said this is a new Westfield project, a new Westfield project. This is different. This is different. This is different. Correct, Mrs. Diamond? This is different. So, if I was going to use the argument that it's the same old Westfield project, well, Bruce certainly would be my #1 candidate for the project, because this was his baby, as I recall. But our chairman went around and speaking for the Westfield, what was it, study review committee. This is a new project. It's not the same as the old one. And so when I looked at the list, some of the things I looked at were new people being involved in the process as well, bringing in new perspective. I don't have an issue with it. And so, I went through the list. The girl works at the COA. If that's a problem with a conflict, then I would change my vote for her, because I would obviously wouldn't want to do that. But
Can I ask you though, but that
She-
qualification, that
I could,
determinant factor?
because I thought she would be able to give some of the COA credibility without. The Marsha, I thought, was having the director there. I didn't think that was quite right. I thought somebody in that, somebody in that realm of the area. Liz didn't come to the meetings. Hey, listen, I'm very good friends with Liz, but she's new to the Board of Council on Aging. She didn't come to the interviews, which, hey, listen, we all have personal issues, but she's new to the Council on Aging, which really didn't have a lot of inner workings there yet. She's only been there a few months. And I didn't think Marcia should be there because she's the director. So I didn't vote for Liz. And I thought we'd bring in a new, some of these people are new, never volunteered before. And that's the way I looked at it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Right.
Appreciate your comments. There was a discussion earlier about the people who weren't able to show up for the interviews. 3 of them have been discussed rather at length. Does anybody want to, before we vote, does anybody want to make any other comments or about that?
Well, I mean, I think I said earlier, I have some mixed feelings about people that didn't show up, and in fact, other than the fact that, can from time to time come and see you away, it's always very pleasant, seems on top of things, James, he has been involved in the process, and while I agree with Steve that I too was looking for some fresh ideas and some fresh blood, I also thought that he could have the recreation, and he served, prior to Charlie set. Liz, like I said, she came from the board of directors. I don't think I have that much of an issue whether, it's Liz or Kim or Rich. Like, I'm not, tied to that. Mr. Paulides, has been in town for, a month, so I guess that would speak to the whole, fresh idea thing, but, I just, would have been nice to have an interview, and ask those questions and get the responses of somebody back into the community, So that's how I felt about the people that, that weren't there. I mean, I think it's hard to make a blatant, do we count them in or count them out, or what do we do with them? Because they each have, very different.
My point being that you've got a committee of 7, and 3 of them didn't appear before the board, and that's what my point is. Of the 3 of the 7 who we got feeling voted for, 3 of them did not show up.
Right. And see, well, that's also another thing is that, where you're, and I understand it's a new board, fresh ideas, blah, blah, but there's also something to say for institutional knowledge. And
Well, that's,
eventually you'll, I think you'll see that. And I think that, Mr. Holmes, that's fine that, Donna Broad, my understanding would do because she's on the finance committee, and it's finance committee can't be on the other committee. If you want to use that to say, okay, you don't think any candidates for an elected office should be on the board or something, that's fine. But it's not like Mike Schneider is using this for that. He's been, as Jean said, he has been going to the meetings. He's been a strong supporter of Westfield. He's on the Affordable Housing Trust. So, these are things that I think that he brings to it. And I agree with Jean that, 3 out of the 7 didn't even come in to interview. So what are we saying to people that, write up a nice resume or write up even just a pretty application or just, smile to people when they walk by you in a hallway when you're working somewhere and we'll put you on board. I think that, I think that there has to be some level of and that people that actually took the time to come up in front of us. Some of them weren't feeling good. Some of them were in a snowstorm. Some of them, but they actually came and did that. So right there, like I said, that's the level. And then another point is, did you have a chance to look at the RFP? We announced it for a month that it was on the website. Look at it, all the previous ones. And there were 3 of them that looked at it, and 2 out of 3 were not even considered. So I just, again, it's one of those things that I understand it's a new committee, but it's the same, I want to say the same project, but it's...
Please don't say that.
No. It's a new committee, it's a new thing, but it's, like I said, this is the reason why that this has gone back and forth is because the town meeting finally said, hey, we want other people to look at it. And I think that...
Well, you said that that's because they didn't trust the Board of Selectmen.
Well, that's true. That's true.
That's what you said.
Well, that's true.
I remember I asked you.
Well, you think they're going to trust us if we don't have whatever. But that is the truth. You can ask anyone, that was the
You
reason
told me
why.
that, didn't you?
I think I said publicly.
You did.
So, I just think that, we'll confirm or whatever. I just think it's a sad commentary when 3 of these people couldn't even, and let me say it this way, because I'm sure there were reasons, there was struck growth, there was issues, whatever. 3 of them couldn't come in front of us to be interviewed, and yet we're going to give them seats on the board.
Well, I could entertain a motion to eliminate them from the list, which is what I think you started to go in the beginning, isn't that what you...
I think that's what I originally said.
I was trying to get a discussion out here before.
Madam Chair, may I have a point? The discussion we're supposed to have was on the people who we voted on. Now we either got to vote to accept these or vote to revote. And we haven't done, we just haven't
We already
discussed.
voted, we already discussed that. I thought we had a consensus of the board, Walter, that we were going to, this was our gut feeling, first round vote. There had been no nominations for appointments yet, that we were going to discuss the
One
relative.
nomination was made and then this one,
There was no second to that, Walter.
that's because he was interrupted before he was in. But anyways, we need to say, are we going to revote or not?
I think the
And we
consensus.
can be here all night going over everybody's resume and why, if I should name.
Well, hopefully.
Because everyone
Well,
else is qualified.
hopefully some of us could have reasons why.
Okay, then let's revote and then we'll get it straight.
Well, can we do like Steve was suggesting, and we have, almost half of our candidates got hired, and 2 got unanimous and 1 got 4. And I think that we should start with those and then move down a list.
Again, one of the ones who got unanimous is one of the ones who was not here for an interview, and I'm having second thoughts about my unanimous vote. So, that's why I'm trying to have this discussion and determine whether or not we want to put on a board of 7 people, 3 people who didn't even come before us, who have no particular, well, one guy seems to have a good resume, but we have one lady who works for the town and another fellow who I'm having second thoughts about having given my vote to. So,
Well, but if we go down the list, and let's say, hypothetically speaking, the 2 that once got 5 votes now got 3, now the one that got 4 votes gets 2, now, you go, do you see what I'm saying?
but if you eliminate people from the list, then you have to vote the entire list.
Well,
And votes are going to go to
we'll
people.
see, we'll see.
Well, we
We'll
vote
talk
on
about
this.
it. I want to make a motion, to exclude anyone who did not interview.
Is there a second?
Who is that?
I don't know. what it
Pamela
is.
Dudley,
That would be Pam Dudley.
James Franklin, and Robert Pagliaros.
Dudley.
Dudley, Franklin, Pagliaros, and Don. It's going to die for lack of a second. I'll second it for discussion, but I think we've probably discussed it today. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Abstained? Okay, so we leave them on the list. I think at this point in time, it really is take a revote. I mean, I
I
do
think
think,
Jimmy's good for the group.
I do too, and that's why, I mean.
Well, then let me make another motion. I'll make a motion to remove everyone who did not give us a legitimate excuse for not coming to the meeting.
I make a motion to take a vote on this.
Excuse
right
me,
now.
there's a motion on the floor, sir.
Well,
There's a motion on the
well,
floor.
there's been a motion on the floor.
I've got a motion on the floor, sir.
excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, please.
Have you got the emails with the excuses? I don't know if we do.
The only one that we have is that I'm aware of is Mr. Franklin had struck, his children had struck.
You said something about Mrs. McDermott.
I don't think, basically,
Yeah.
excuses aside.
I think she sent us an email. I don't remember.
I don't know what she said, I know why she wasn't here, but I don't know why she said, I don't know if she disclosed that information to the office, and I don't want to get into that. You know, the problem is that, she didn't.
She did.
Actually, I would say, if you want to second the discussion or not.
I mean, I'll second it for discussion, but, I mean, the reason that I didn't vote for the original motion is because I do feel strongly about James Franklin. So, and that's,
So the next motion is to eliminate Dudley, McDonald, Pagliaros.
I mean, maybe the motion should be,
Seconded for discussion.
yeah,
But maybe the motion should be
maybe the motion should be
that they just didn't come before the board.
that anybody who can get an unanimous vote. I don't know how to do it without creating a problem in the future, I mean, you know, that's the,
Okay, well, the way to do it, if I can make a suggestion, the way to do it without creating a problem down the road is to simply withdraw your votes for people who didn't show up on the board, and then that doesn't take a motion, it's just a matter of, there's 3,
I haven't had any votes for anybody yet.
well, we have our initial straw poll, if you want to call it that.
So there's been no votes.
So,
We haven't recommended anyone.
If you keep
We haven't-
eliminating like we're eliminating,
we haven't
then,
eliminated anybody yet.
well, if you keep doing like we're trying to do, what you're trying to do now, you're only going to have 7 people left.
No, I
Check it
don't
out.
think we should take the 7 people.
That's all you have. Check it out. Do the math.
I think we still have lots to choose from.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're all going to eliminate.
No, there are only 3 that were.
Just leave them all, and this will be vote. And whoever has the votes could get considered.
Well, there seems to be some consensus for.
And if you feel that way, that they didn't come to the meeting, don't vote for them, that's all.
And there's a motion in a second to eliminate the people who didn't come before the board.
Well, the second excuse, yeah, the second discussion.
Okay.
Excuse or not?
Opposed?
No.
No.
Abstained?
I'm saying, I don't know if they had an excuse or not.
Did they have the courtesy to call us?
I don't know, Chris. I don't know if they called Janet, I don't know.
Okay.
You can get into specifics.
I didn't get a call.
Motion fails.
I didn't get a call. I didn't get a call.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can we please go back to the, let's go back to the final vote on the candidates.
I would make a motion to appoint James Franklin to the West Board of Recommendation.
Is there a second?
I'm making a
How
motion.
are you going to vote for each one instead of point?
I'm gonna make the motions for the two that got the unanimous, and then the one that got 4.
Well, if we vote again, top 7 is going to get it.
Right, I'm just going down.
So why are you going to go individual? If you got
Right,
four-
let's start, I'd like to start the voting.
Excuse me, there's a motion and a second on the floor.
The motion and a second for James. All in favor?
So if you vote, then he's out completely, then, right? That's the way it
And
sounds
for
to me.
discussion, I suppose.
Right.
Right,
You vote.
and right, so for
Right.
discussion,
See-
I do think that, you're voting on somebody that, on my
If
gut
somebody
feeling,
put it-
you
if
make
we
a
don't
motion
vote
on
it,
the
he's
unanimous.
not in.
Excuse me, Walter, I understand that, thank you.
Okay.
It's hard for me to talk while you're talking.
Thank you. Go ahead.
One of the things that I got from saying was, I wanted to change my vote, so it wouldn't be unanimous anymore. I should, my gut feeling vote based on the discussion that we had.
Right, but when she makes a motion, then it would be 4-1, 3-2, 2-3, whatever. If people change their vote.
Right, but she's only making the motion because he got 5 votes on the first round. If he didn't get 5 votes on the first round, would you be making the motion?
No, I'm just trying to think of a way to do this with some sense of getting it done.
Exactly, I think Walter's point to.
I'm hungry.
I mean, do people want to do it one at a time, or do you want to do it by a revote, the way we voted the first time?
Well, do we want to do another straw poll and see how much this has changed?
We're not changing anything on this, leave it all this as is, and we're going to re-vote. So if you have 5 for Haney, and now 2 people change their mind, they would have someone else on this. The person who got 2 now have 4. If the 2 people vote.
Maybe somebody who had 2 before will have 3.
Right.
If you get that.
But you can't end up with more than 7.
Right, in the people.
And then when you do that, you,
I guess you could,
the
yeah.
4 top one will be in, and then you vote for the other 3.
And that's why I want, if you want it more than 7, then you rate your rank, and vote for your top choice and go down the list that way.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
All right, so where did we start? Let me get my paper, right?
I'm not understanding how you're feeling about this. I think I have an idea from everybody else.
Well, there's a motion on the floor to appoint James Franklin and seconded.
For
For discussion, and I'm saying for discussion that I'd like to possibly reconsider the motion because I would like to revote before we go one by one.
You mean you do another
Right,
list?
do another straw poll.
I'll withdraw my motion.
You just have to use another column in your paper.
Yeah, we just vote one
I
more.
had different columns. So I don't have 50 pieces
So
of
you
paper.
start right from the top again, right?
Can we?
What?
You start right from the top and go down.
Maybe Mark will make us a copy.
No.
Use your last column. Use your-
Oh, she wrote it.
This is the
I
final.
use my
I'm
pen
gonna write
and
it.
it's different colors.
Oh.
I need to- We'll take a seat. We'll take a look. All right.
I know,
Now we'll list again.
I'm much more agreeable when I'm not hungry.
Right. Yeah, and just give me, well, I haven't finished with my seven.
Oh, okay.
Can you give me two?
Oh, okay.
Can you just give me a minute?
I understand.
You said that, that go works there. Is anybody else on this list an employee? We didn't ask that question.
No, there isn't.
No.
You read the resumes, right?
Well, you know, I thought those people were better. Consider them actual. Tab. Now it's all over the tab. All right. This is the final one. I messed up. All right. Yeah, this is this. All right. Show my hands. Boucher. Okay, this is Gronk with Drew. Dudley.
What was that again?
Dudley. Frank. Griswold. Heaney. McDonald. Mulder. Nilsson. Elizabeth Pizzoli withdrew. Paulus. I know I'm not saying that. Paulus. Michelle Rose. Bruce Savageau. Mike Schneider. Slavin. Chris Smith withdrew. Martha Strain. Chris Smith withdrew.
I don't do it now.
Oh.
Because when she made the argument about council on aging, I thought, well, if we're gonna have one vote, we'll have one vote on it.
All right, wait a second. Let me do that again. Chris Smith withdrew. Martha Strain. All right.
So it's 3 of them.
Still down.
The golf course -3.
You took 3. I see. Any Anderson, you don't have 7.
So there's 7 with, you got 7 here.
Jim Franklin, Billy,
Six.
You have 6.
Bruce
Did you get 6?
I got 6.
Yeah, I got 7.
Did you read 6?
You got 7?
Wait a minute. You got it. No, we got James Franklin has 1, 2, 3 votes.
Right.
James Franklin, Bill Haney,
Bill Haney has 4
Joseph
votes.
Malgren, Dave Nelson,
Yeah.
Rose, Bruce Savage, those are the three that I
And
have.
Sandy
And then you
Snyder.
did Sandy.
Oh, Sandy, how many, I'm sorry.
Sandy has
She got 3?
Sandy did great.
That's 7 minutes.
Is that why you want to take a roll again?
Who has Sandy?
Who?
Did you have Sandy too?
Yeah.
Oh, right, so there's 3, okay, then there's 7.
That's 7 members.
There we go.
So let it be said, so let it be done. Pizza, 5-minute recess.
Wait, come on.
I'll make the motion.
No, but it's 5 minutes and 2.
Yeah, I have 5 votes.
Okay, good.
We can't just wrap this up.
So do we all agree with that?
All right, so here we go.
So you want me to make a
Well, no,
motion?
I'm gonna do this right now.
So who changed?
What? It doesn't matter. Well,
Doesn't
here's
matter.
what we're gonna do. We just voted, right?
Wait,
We just voted.
this is your recommendation on what we're gonna do.
Right. I make a motion. that We appoint James Franklin to the,
Is there a
You
second?
want to just do
Why
one
don't you just
second?
do
no, I don't. No, I
Okay,
don't.
second.
I want to have the name. To the, where's my, Wareham.
Westfield, review
Westfield.
and recommendation advisory.
Also, you know, if I may, I'll withdraw my second because I was just going to say that if you do all 7, we could get maybe a unanimous vote of the 7. Rather than having it go back and forth and did I go to that one or not and switch it
All
back?
right, we can do it this way.
Read on.
I make a motion that we appoint Franklin, Heaney, Mulker, Nelson, Rose, Savageau, Slavin to the Westfield Review and Recommendation Committee based on the second round robin vote of the Board of Selectmen with term to expire.
At the completion of the,
That's better
And
than
there's
this.
a term to expire.
Let's at least put a date on it.
June
June
30th.
30th, 2011.
Will we get a proposal?
30?
Yeah, if we get it on by April 1st, we'll.
I was gonna say, you know what, Brenda, I was gonna say August
I was
1st.
gonna say August.
Okay.
Oh, fine.
August 1st, 2001.
Second.
Second.
Just to give it
All in
some,
favor?
a week open-ended is not.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
And then, I'm sorry, and Jean or,
I'm really glad, I really feel like we gave it a thorough vetting.
we have, people.
Right now.
Notify those 7 people of the next Thursday's meeting.
Yes.
I was hoping to do,
5-minute recess, motion. Okay, let's jump down to any other town business, which the charter articles. We need to vote to put them on the ballot, so Mary Ann Silver, the clerk, can, we have to vote on each of them one at a time. But thank you. On the proposed ballot questions, there are unfortunately 11 of them, but we can take a quick.
second.
Do you want me to just rattle them off if you want?
Yep.
Right now?
Just say it.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Okay, I'll move to put question,
One.
with question 1, which would be, oh, we don't have to read, we don't
Yeah,
have to.
that's not right.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. I'm sorry, article, yeah, which was article 41 at the fall town meeting, which was to establish a 7-member non-elected board of road commissioners.
All those in favor?
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? In favor.
Okay, question, I would make a motion for question 2, which was article 42 of the fall town meeting, which was eliminating the personnel board.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous.
Okay, I would make a motion to put question 3 on the ballot, which would be article 45 of the fall town meeting, which would limit the eligibility of any elected official to hold a municipal position of employment while holding office.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
I make a motion to put question 4 on the ballot, which would be from Article 46 of the fall town meeting, which would relate to the limiting the role of selectmen in day-to-day administration of the town.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
I would make a motion to put question 5 on the ballot, which is Article 49 of the fall town meeting,
Second.
which is for the town administrator appointments to become effective within the time frame which the board of selectmen may act to affirm or reject such.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's 4-0-0.
I would make a motion to put question 6 on the ballot, the fall town meeting, which would be Article 55 of the fall town meeting, which would require the school committee to submit its agenda to the town administrator 90 days before the town administrator must submit it to the board of
Submit the
selectmen.
budget.
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0. We get you to get started, we're on question
This
7.
is just put on the ballot. I'll make a motion to put question 7 on the ballot, which would be from Article 57 of the fall town meeting, which would be expected by which the town administrator can submit the gain of plans for reorganization of the town.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, it's 5-0-0.
I move to put question 8 on the ballot from the fall town, Article 59 of the fall town meeting, which would require copies of those addresses to be kept in the town clerk.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
I would make a motion to put Article 9, question 9 on the ballot, which would be from Article 61 of the fall town meeting, which defines definitions.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
I would make a motion to put question 10 on the ballot, which would be acting on Article 63 of the fall town meeting, which would be reorganizing the ballot format for recall.
Second.
Candidates.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
And I would make a motion to put question 11 on the ballot, which would be Article 65 from the fall town meeting, which would provide an election of sewer commissioners.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
Thank you for reading all that.
Good job, Barbara. And after all, we'll have-
Okay, thank you, board, that was very precise. We have two,
Mother, we have one thing that we didn't talk about Tuesday night. Any other town businesses, the ad hoc, the idea of debt exclusion, we said we would bring it back to them. And I just want to get it from our board, our feelings on it, or,
the budget discussion.
yeah,
Under the agenda item, budget discussion,
yes.
would you like to elaborate on what the information was?
You want to?
Yeah, I'll do it, the budget ad hoc committee is looking at ways to resolve some budgetary issues for fiscal 12. And there was a very hearty discussion about options. That discussion included, as you guys know, the meals tax, the hotel tax, the additional hotel tax, operational override, which I feel confident saying was not supported by there wasn't an official vote, but the consensus was that nobody was really interested. But one of the options that the committee felt was viable was the debt exclusion for the purchase of certain capital items. And the reason was that it is less expensive to the taxpayer. It's a debt exclusion, and money is cheap right now. And and we do, in some respects, have an opportunity today.
Give me $50, will you?
No.
You just said money was
So
cheap.
cheap.
Well, money to borrow is cheap, so, in other words, instead of interest rates that were once, 6 or 7%, you're looking at, relatively inexpensive money to utilize. So, the committee wants to bring this to and Brenda step in.
I'm saying the committee wants to ask school committee, board of selectmen, and the finance committee if there is an appetite or an interest in doing an override debt exclusion.
For what? What's the purpose?
Well, the one that they, as Karen said, the one that they proposed was to do a debt exclusion for capital projects, because I think that the capital planning committee has about 1.8 million. Is that what it is, Mark, right on that?
Plus school buses.
Plus.
Yes, plus.
This involves buying school buses?
Well, yes, you know, the ones that.
We absolutely, I'm sorry.
Well, I think the purpose of this discussion is whether or not we would be supportive of bringing forward a debt exclusion to for town meeting vote.
And they're really, I was saying,
Targeted.
I would say, right, well, targeted for that stuff, I would say, and I think the reason why, aside from the fact, go to all the boards, but as I said, that committee, the board of selectmen are the only ones that can put it on, put a 2.5 override on the ballot. And I don't know if the debt exclusion would still qualify as that. That would still have to, it has to go on the ballot. So therefore, we would be the only ones who could put that on the ballot. And while I have been personally opposed to it all the time, what their argument was that if all the committees do it, you know, if the other committees were in favor of it, if we would do it to let the people decide. You know, so that's kind of where we are, is, you know, with this board entertain, and the reason why we have to do it now is because in order to get it on the ballot, it has to be to Mary Ann pretty much by March 1st, so that it can be included on the ballot. She has to have everything to her at least 35 days in advance to get it on the ballot. So,
What's the question? Would you support?
well, would you support putting it on the ballot?
No, what's the question?
Either a debt exclusion or no.
Well, I can tell you, when I said this in the ad hoc meeting tonight, I think that my colleague agreed with me, is that I would absolutely not support an operation worldwide. I would not even support bringing it to people. And the reason why is because I think once you go to folks and say, we can't operate without this extra money, then you are creating a situation where year after year after year, we're going to be going back to people. And that is just a trend that I don't want to start.
Right. And I think, and as Karen said earlier, I think the majority of the committee felt that way. Yeah. And where there was the breakup was the debt exclusion. And one school of thought was, well, put the debt exclusion out there. And if people can't afford it, they can't afford it. And then, but, you know, if and when things are falling apart, we say that we didn't have the money because, you know, for whatever it is that we wanted to do with the debt exclusion.
Okay, and that's my question, okay? Number one, if you're going to put something on the ballot for a debt exclusion, you have to be very specific. So exactly what projects were proposed by the ad hoc committee to put on this debt exclusion? It has to be, well, capital planning. It has to be a specific dollar amount, and it has to be a specific project. That's my
I understand
understanding.
that, but capital planning was there the week before, talking to us about the different things that they had. So when we were discussing this, we did not have capital planning there to say, 500,000 on this, 200,000 on this.
So now we're under the gun to do it by March 1st, and we have no specific.
Well, we get to March 2nd.
Or March 2nd. So we have no specific debt exclusion plan to put on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
But we could have that by our meeting for March 1st. I mean, I guess the question that we're really posing today is, if there's no interest, if the board isn't gonna go for it, then there's no sense in doing the work.
Mr. Holmes.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Andrews, how much money is in that budget? We're talking 12 now, right? For capital planning?
The budget that I presented.
Yes, sir.
Approximately $400,000.
So you're talking about a debt exclusion of $400,000?
Talking about a debt exclusion.
They wanted to do a debt exclusion of like 1.8 million.
Did they have
And then I believe what the committee is trying to get to.
That's all I want.
And take that 400,000 to put it.
And just so
My question, thank you very much.
Just so we're all clear, a debt exclusion is a vote of the people to raise taxes for a very specific project. I am not sure, and I think we will have to ask Ms. Anders to do the research on this, but I am not sure that you can do a debt exclusion for a general category. You have to list each
Well,
item.
but I believe that, and as I said, the week before, applicants were there and they were telling us the specific things that they wanted to do. And that their number was about 1.8 million.
For 1 year, for the whole plan.
Well, for their wish list to do in the 1 year, we don't have the money for that. So therefore, they will be looking at it and cutting that down to 400,000, which is what is in the budget. However, if they could do the exclusion, they would want to do it, I believe, for that 1.8 million. Isn't that kind of what they were talking about? And neither Kara nor I have that right here because it was the week before when they were giving us the specifics.
We could put it, actually, we could put an itemized listing of what the capital planning committee, because they were Friday working on that list.
Right.
And that, but it would include things that I have proposed, like in the public safety area, cruises and defibrillators and ambulances, and putting the whole package together, not on for my budget recommendation, but there's some capital need on the school side as well. And we could put that itemization together and also come up with a general sense as to, what the capital planning committee would be recommending.
Mr. Holmes?
Maybe I have to ask through you to Ms. Stevens again, then, to be clear. In that budget, what is the total amount of capital you're presenting to the town in your budget? That's for the town and the schools combined.
No, see.
Well, it's your budget, the whole thing is your budget.
I understand that.
Okay, so what is the total number of capital purchases in that?
In your proposed budget right now, it's 400,000.
400,000. And then the capital planning committee got information from the school department after I had submitted my budget. So there's
So the
additional
total
items.
between the town and the school, you propose 400,000.
That's correct.
So there's 1.8 coming in.
Well, now we're talking about other items that are on the capital list that,
What Mark is proposing is $400,000 of specific capital items that are already in the budget that's proposed. And that's for, I can't remember exactly what it's for.
cruises and...
There's a couple of cruises, I'm talking about the $400,000, what we've already got programmed into the budget for capital.
Particularly for the cruises.
AEDs,
Is the one ambulance?
renovations, 1 ambulance.
Okay, so that's what we have. Debt exclusion is for above and beyond what's already in the budget.
Well, let me just, but what they want to do, and that's where they want to take what he has for 400,000, take that out and put it as part of that debt exclusion, the 1.8. So that
That's
this
what I was
400,000 in free cash are available, I shouldn't say, I don't want to use free cash, available revenues that perhaps the school department could take and put over on theirs.
Absolutely not.
And then, you get to 1.8, how long is it for? You're not paying it back in 1 year, how many years?
For 20 years, and that's what we need to see is what the debt schedule is for repayment and how much it's going to cost.
And I know that, and if I may, Madam Chair, one of the things that you may have heard it was around that night about 29 school buses, and Dr. Rabinowitz did say, well, 29 school buses, we don't really need that. We'd rather, we'd rather do 5 a year, 5, right out a year, for the next, 6 years, which would be approximately $500,000 a year in debt. I mean, $500,000 a year worth of loans that they're looking at. For the
I'm
next
not
6
quite
years.
certain they figured out what it costs to run that yet.
They absolutely have not, and there hasn't been any consideration or discussion on it, which is, in my opinion, which is the same reason why they stopped the subcommittee, because that was what we were going to be presenting the next week.
And this debt exclusion is a bunch of smoke and mirrors, Madam Chair, that's my opinion.
Well,
6 weeks before an election,
I don't think that...
6 weeks to put it on a ballot, everything's in a rush job, nothing's been clearly defined or planned out, we don't even know what the list is, and you're asking us to vote to put it on a ballot, that's not.
I don't, well, let me
That's,
just,
you're asking for the answer today, my answer's no.
well, let's say,
Okay,
and
thank you, Mr. Holmes.
if I may, I would say, I don't think that we were asking to vote on it, and I think what they wanted us to do is the ad hoc committee to at least say, if they have a plan, and if they present it to the selectmen, would the selectmen be inclined to put it on the ballot? And I know that those are a lot of ifs and there are variables in there, and like you said, you know, if it's to build a new wonderful senior center, you might be in favor of that. But if it's to buy, you know, top hats and canes for every employee for the next week, then that's something you're not in favor of. So I do understand that, but just the general concept of a debt exclusion, if it was presented to you by the school committee, by the ad hoc committee, would you be inclined to put it on there?
As long as, you know, my opinion would be, as long as the money is not to be, as long as the money you're excluding is not used to operate.
Can't be. That's why it's called a...
No, what I'm saying is the money that Mr. Andrews has got $400,000 in for capital expenditures, correct?
No.
So you take that 400,000 or whatever, and you come up with this 1.8 million. Then he turns around and with the 400,000 and pays somebody's salary, pays their insurance, pays this,
Well,
pays
that's what we're
that.
at. I believe
That I could not support because next year you got not only that 400,000, but you got plus.
Well, and I think that is why the committee was looking at it, because I don't think that
Right.
Mr. Andrews would even have anything to say about that 400,000, because they're looking to put it over the schools to go into that increase or the increase that they're looking for.
You can't take
Which
that.
would also
See, all the other thing, if we did that 1.8 for 20 years, and we get the school buses, and at one meeting, they said the school bus is only 5 years, so it's happening.
So you pay 15 years on a bus that's in the
And they
bucket.
go on, every 5 years, you get a new bus.
No, the school buses would be part of the school's operating budget because we talked about buying, just using this debt exclusion to
You
buy.
can't buy buses out of the operating budget.
No, what I'm saying is it will be part of their, because we talked about leasing the buses versus purchasing the buses, but that,
It wouldn't be out of theirs, though, it would be out of town side. We pay for
Comes on
that.
the debt
Right.
exclusion.
I'm not explaining myself correctly.
Okay.
I'm saying it's not, that money isn't part of, at least from what I understood, what we're talking about with the debt exclusion. That is more going to be a $500,000 charge incurred annually that comes out of the regular, there's a line item in the budget that's not funded, that they would, that's how Barry explained it to me.
Well, that they would fund, because, well, just because I was saying, as far as purchasing of the buses comes from the town side. And it comes, so they wouldn't have it.
Right, but they weren't looking to put the purchase of the buses into the debt exclusion, is what I'm trying to say.
So they're gonna take this $400,000 and buy the buses that way?
No,
Where would they get the money for the buses? That's,
I have no idea, but that wasn't, I don't think that's part of the 1.8 million.
And whatever they're
No,
going
it's
to
not.
1.8 for, we're paying for 8 years, how long does it last, in 1 year?
right,
It's gone.
Well, no, I think what we need to do is we need to look at, I mean, I'm gonna say, on a personal level, when I go to vote, am I gonna vote for a debt exclusion? I gotta see what's on the list. But do I believe that, you know, when you look at, the capital planning committee has worked extremely hard, and we do have an awful lot of capital needs that have unfortunately been neglected for a whole host of reasons, you know, over the years. And we do need to start addressing them. And this is one way at this point in time. And that's my point is, and I'm the one that said what Brenda said, this has to be, I feel this has to be a community decision. I think the community has to go to the voting booths and say, you know what, I don't really think we need any more police cruisers, or I don't really think that we need to update town hall, or I don't think we need an ambulance. I think we need to put this in the voters' pocket, and put the question to the voters.
see, you know what thought is that, and I theoretically, you're absolutely right, okay? But practicality, I will tell you that a few years ago, there was a deep budget cuts. And we wouldn't go for an override at the time. Matter of fact, we had people coming up in front of us, individuals from boards, asking us for an override. We wouldn't do it. And what happened was that going further into the year, there were things missing, things like that. And I remember saying to someone, well, you know, you voted for this or you didn't vote for that or whatever it was. And what they said is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we voted at town meeting. It doesn't matter how we voted at the ballot. You're letting these things fail. You need to come up with a way to do this. So even, believe me, logically, you're absolutely right. And in a perfect world, put it out there in front of the voters and let the voters say no. But when the voters come back and it's 70 or 80% no, one, whether it's this board or whatever it will be, that you people try to get us to do it. You know, you try to raise our taxes, you try to do that debt exclusion. And I think that the 1.8, just to say, clarify what something Walter said, the 1.8, I believe that if they did the buses, it's above that. The 1.8 is from the capital plan before they got information on buses. So if they were going to do buses in the debt exclusion, and Kara says she doesn't think they are, but if they did, you're talking 2.3.
If we could kind of cut this, I make a motion, Madam Chair, that the Board of Selectmen send the message back to the ad hoc committee through our two representatives that we don't have enough information.
Well, wait a second, the motion should, are we interested in seeing the information? Because if we're not interested and we're not going to be supportive of this, it's
How
not.
do you know, that's.
Well, is there anything that you want to put on?
It's either you have the information or you don't. You don't come and say, well, oh yeah, I'd be interested. Well, we're all interested, but it depends what's in the package.
Well, I think I think that's what Kara's saying, Steve, is that.
That's what I'm saying, we don't have enough information.
Right, but the thing is that I'll just tell you from my
Do you
personal-
want to look at?
Right, do you even want the information? Like, is there anything that you think that you would be worth putting the town, taking the 20-year loan out for the town to take care of right now?
Depends what it is.
Okay, so you would consider looking at.
I would look at anything. I'm pretty open-minded. I look at anything. Whether I vote for it or not, I don't know. Depends what
So I
it is.
guess
If it's school buses, though, you can tell them. The answer is no. Yeah. Because they have not clearly demonstrated that it's cheaper to have something else, not do it.
Right,
I've not seen that yet.
right.
Okay, well, let's get back to the specific discussion. Which is the answer to the question, is, does the Board of Selectmen want to see more information on the debt exclusion before we vote to support it?
Well, if Steve withdraws his motion,
I would draw the
Nobody
motion, let the ad hoc people make the
Doesn't
motion.
need to be, doesn't need to be.
I would make a motion to read, Madam Chair, that this board direct Mr. Andrews to direct the appropriate people to bring forth a presentation on March 1st for the board's consideration regarding the debt exclusion. And that should be inclusive of any items, the total cost of the loan, the amortization of the loan, and I would add the average cost to the individual taxpayer.
Where does this have to go to the clerk?
March 2nd.
That's.
You want to kind of look at, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, well,
That's
you have
why
a sharp
I'm concerned
idea
we're not
that you
meeting
get.
Tuesday, right, because we're not meeting Tuesday, so we don't have to look at and digest it. And while I don't disagree with your motion, would you withdraw it and I'll just change it a little bit? Because what I'd like to do is make a motion, all right, it's a second discussion, I'll withdraw it, but I think we should make a motion to, if Mr. Andrews, if he could confirm with Barry that there will be no buses in the debt exclusion. And then find out from capital planning what that won't be. Is it there?
There's no buses, because it's something.
No, I
They
think-
might have buses.
No, I think
No.
we're complicating, and then it was going to be 2.3, yeah, it's going to be 2.3 with the buses.
You trying to ram stuff in the last 5 weeks.
No,
You don't even have 5 weeks anymore,
They
do you?
have the whole plan. The capital planning committee has a whole plan of.
I understand to have a plan. You just made a motion, to give this board a presentation on March the 1st. And we would have to vote that night without just seeing a presentation on the board. So the clerk can get this on the ballot the next day.
Well, it should be included in our package, which would give us several days to digest it, and then let it come before us,
Should be, we'll see.
so we can ask them questions.
And we do
See
have,
what
we
happens.
will have a posted meeting on Thursday the 24th. I can add it to the agenda if we think we can
Well,
have the
that's the-
information.
that-
But I do understand your point, Mr. Holmes. It is very short,
Private
time
is.
to use. And I think the point that we're, even the whole ad hoc budget committee is working on a short fuse. They're working between now and town meeting, of course. But this is even a shorter fuse because it has to be a ballot question. So I do agree with your point. I think that it's really tricky to be like talking about a debt exclusion.
Can you do this through town meeting?
No, and that's,
Before it has to be
that's the
voted.
problem, and then that's why it is such a rush, because there is a deadline, right, there's the statutory deadline for ballot questions. But now, if we say, no, we have no interest in debt exclusion, we have no interest in override, we have no interest in that, then probably the finance committee or the school committee or somebody could put something else on the ballot, or they could prepare their own alternative, thing or whatever, and try to do something at town meeting to skirt that. I think that, to me, that's, probably where they would go. Like if they want to make a motion or something,
Madam Chair,
they'll plan on taking money.
Madam Chair, can't they do something similar to what the districts do? Make a motion at their annual meeting or their meeting to say, I make a motion to raise or collect whatever number is needed to buy a new fire truck.
And that's what we have right now. We have $400,000 of that in the budget right now that will be in separate articles on town meeting warrant.
Right.
This is and they could do that, and that's exactly what Mrs. Exton just said, and that's what will happen if we don't come to some agreement prior to town meeting, that there will be motions to amend the budget as is, in order for them to get the money to do what they need to do, or for anybody, the capital, the school department, whoever it is who wants more money, can always make a motion to amend on town meeting floor.
So my second point to you then is,
They can also
if you
raise,
can explain to us how this is a capital plan, which Mr. Andrews says $400,000 in the budget. How does this affect one way or the other what the ad hoc committee was established to do? And that is to bring the difference between the school and Mr. Andrews' budget together.
right, and that's it. That's
It
exactly-
doesn't
no, that's-
change that.
It does, it changes that, because it frees up $400,000 that's currently in the budget on the
You
town
just said they were
side.
going to move that into this.
That's what they
So
were
we'll
going
go
to
into the school.
That's what
I
the
mean,
point
that's
of
what
the
I
ad
think
hoc
that's what they're
committee
trying to
is.
do.
That's what the point of the ad hoc committee
It's got
is to come up with.
177, now they're going to take
If I can just, for a point of information, the reason why the
Not interested.
districts can do it is because they're not subject to Prop 2.5.
Got it.
And we're at our levy limit, so they can just make a motion to raise appropriate. We don't have the ability to do that, so we would be cutting the town budget to put it on the school side. If that doesn't happen, my feeling is that's probably what it would be to eliminate this, to put it into the school line item.
And let
So
me
it's a
just add
roundabout
on.
way of overriding 2.5 to fund operations of the school department.
Yes and
Basically, is what
no.
you're
We
doing.
also get out of it a positive thing, which is we get to fund some of our capital items, which are seriously been neglected. The bottom line being that if we were to approve this to go on the ballot, and it's voted down at the ballot box, we're still going to wind up with going the other avenue on town meeting floor. So
Well, and I think it's important to point out.
either way, it could land up on town meeting.
Madam Chair, that everybody on the budget subcommittee understands that this is gonna, we're not gonna have this information until the night of April 5th. And we're not just gonna put all our eggs in the basket of that exclusion.
April 5th.
That's election day, when they would actually be voting on
And
the
my
ballot
birthday,
question.
so
Should we
should
approve
we
that?
expecting a good gift from you?
Should we?
Anyway, can we vote, because I'm voting no. I think we already had I think we made a motion. But if you want to make a motion, I would say that I'm not even interested.
What was the motion? The motion was.
Well, I would say,
Well,
actually, I would ask you, okay, I was gonna make a motion to ask Mr. Andrews if he would get a copy of the capital planning, the 1.8 million of the capital planning was proposing. That is what they want to do on the destination, and disseminate it to us so that we would have it and be able to look at it, consider it before March 1st. So when we got there March 1st, if we were so inclined to accept the request from, say, the school committee or someone to do the debt exclusion, we could do it, but it doesn't even sound like that we'd get that far, so. Because I'm not
It
here.
just seems to be that 1.8 million or something like that, students. If you're going to spread it out over 20 years, I mean, let's make it substantial.
Like a high school. That's what we did.
Police station.
High school, police
Maybe
station,
have
right,
police
yeah.
people with their sewer project, or a multi-service center,
Well,
or...
again, excuse me if I.
But
if
to
I-
use money for operations, Jane,
Do you?
I'm not in favor of that.
I understand that.
And I think, and I was saying, and to go back to what we were saying as far as, before, we were talking about, we've said it all along for the past couple of years, was that, we didn't get a zero stabilization, get a zero reserve fund overnight. it wrote down for years, and we're building it back up. And I think the same thing is with the capital planning. I mean, we've got almost $500,000 in capital planning. I can't even tell you the last time we had something like that actually in the budget. So I think that, you know, this is one of the things, and I know that Jane has talked about coming up with a policy that is reflective of that, you know, something that we're going to strive for in the budget process. And I think that to pull out a quick $1.8 million loan to do this stuff, where we might be able to, it's $400,000, you know, it should be in the next like 3 or 4 years, we'll be able to get all of these things in order. And so, you know, I'm not in favor of that.
I'm going to bring something out that I want to bring up, but not getting into that and looking at something, straighten that out. We're wasting over $600,000 on the pound.
How can that be?
We can come, get the figures I can do for over a year, we can at least save $5 million.
Well, that would be good, because that's,
Plus, even giving them the raises they want.
but I think that, and I'll just say this before, because I really have to know, because I'm sure all of you do. The question of the debt exclusion isn't just about the $400,000 that's in the budget that may or may not end up in the schools. That's, you know, the ad hoc committee has to look at that, because there is, as someone pointed out last time, actually, I forget the number, but it looks like the town may be deficit on its budget for next year. So we may need that $400,000 for ourselves, but these numbers change literally by the minute at this point. So, but I think that one of the things that Mr. Andrews said when we first started talking about the exclusion was, this may be an opportunity for us to try and catch up, you know, and get some of these more important public safety things done. And I do think that's important,
How
because
are we going to catch up if we're always going to debt?
Well, no, and I was saying, I can see where you're going with it, but we just also had a room full of 150 people saying that they don't have, knowing when we said to them, if we put this on 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, you'll be paying double or triple, and they were like, that's okay, because you know what, we can't afford. So I don't know if people are going to be real happy to say, okay, I'll pay an extra $57 in my taxes this year so that we can buy an ambulance or, you know, a couple of defibrillators when we could just buy it a little more slowly in the budget.
Let us know that because we go up.
Yeah, it's still gonna happen. You're not gonna stop spending that. You gotta stop spending it at some point.
well, we need to stop spending it. And I can sit there and go, well, listen, things that I can, you know,
Well, you did that, and that's why I supported you on that ad hoc committee. So you go through that book, you would be expert on budgets to tell them what you were
Yeah, but
reading them off.
they didn't want to pick on the budget one by one. But I gave Mr. Andrews the short version.
If I could,
No, you
the town budget,
Mm-hmm.
the town budget is not a deficit, I want to make that clearly stated publicly. The issue on the school side is that they have some aspirational goals, and I agree with some of them, I don't agree with a lot of them. But the idea on the capital plan was to look at the debt exclusion in a way that if we had a consistent capital program, you know, expenditure, that put some money into public safety, some money into different parts of our capital needs consistently. You wouldn't wind up after a decade of broken fence. You'd be in a position where you could consistently be fixing them, like the cruises. You can't just do them 1 year and stop 2 or 3 years. So that's my feeling on it. And I think it was just a matter of take the temperature of the board to see if there's a way to look for another option. And I'm not a big fan of it because I think we can do it within the capital program that we've been over.
Until somebody stands up on top of the floor and says we get the capital budget put in the schools because we don't want our programs covered, we don't want teachers laid off. And that's where the real problem comes in. I'm just letting you know.
And I understand both those points of view, and I'll just toss my 2 cents in here and people can vote. I think we should put it out to the voters. I felt that way on the other occasion when we discussed it, and Mrs. Ekstrom knows it because we disagreed on that point. I think that for 5 of us to block the voters, at least having the opportunity to show how they feel, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, is not good, regardless of what the outcome of, or anybody else's motivations are. Let the voters speak.
That was all I'm asking. Let's let them have their side.
I thought it was already said that even if we didn't do it, that they could bring it up.
Well, no, we're the only ones that.
We're the only ones who can put the ballot, put it out there for all the voters to vote for that, in terms of it would go
Say they
on the
could
ballot.
have a town meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
I
no, you
understand.
can't bring this issue
Yeah,
up.
sure.
Excuse me, Steve, I'm talking. I'm trying to answer Mr. Cruz.
That's how it is.
Only on the ballot. The only way to get it on the ballot is for this board to vote to put it on the ballot. That's the only way that it gets out there to all the voters to say yes, no, hell no, whatever they want to say. If it doesn't pass on the ballot and the school committee goes into town meeting or other people go into town meeting or capital planning committee, whoever it is, goes into town meeting and says, despite the fact that people in town have said absolutely no, I don't want to do this, I'm going to make a motion to do X, Y, or Z. I mean, they can still do that. But I think that you get a sense of what people want. I think I know we all have a sense of what people want, as Mrs. Exner said, but I just don't have any problem with putting it out there for the people to vote on. Personally, I think it's going to die 1,000 deaths out there on the voting box. I guess it's 3-2 without taking a formal vote. 3-2 as far as supporting this and not supporting it. I mean, supporting the idea of going to the ballot.
I support it, putting it on the ballot. I'm not suggesting for a second,
Jim
but I
is.
support what's.
Maybe one. Hurry up.
But I think voters have the right to make.
He'll say goodbye and it shuts off.
Bye-bye. Have a
Don't
nice
get too
day.
much time on a disc, I told you.
I was to say, yeah, and that's the thing, is that, I mean, without having, we could even say we don't have that answer, but would the Steve or Walter, would either of you possibly feel differently if you had a list of exactly what was going to be on that, or what capital improvements they were looking at doing that, or you just don't?
No, because I know what the planning is the money for. That's just doesn't make any sense to me. You can't do that.
If we look at the clock, so if this budget is working, and it's going to take us 2 or 3 years, isn't it better for us to straighten it out 2 or 3 years, then 20 years down the road, we're going to straighten it out?
Okay, so I guess
The board is saying there's no
you
advertising.
don't have an application for that.
Put debt exclusion on for capital planning. That's just it.
It's only 2 or 3 years.
It's a healthy discussion.
No, we're not going to
Well,
discuss.
you don't get a 2 or 3 year goal. It's like a town meeting, it's to say there's $400,000 of capital plan. I vote to take that line item and put it in, line item on the school.
You know what, you don't get $1.8 million to pay salaries.
That's, that's where.
Give them the 400, they give it 1.8. It's still $2 million.
But they can cut that.
They'll do, they'll,
Cut and do in their own. But
that, well, they
and
brought,
see, I'm saying,
they brought that
honestly, that's
information
one of the
back
things
in.
that I understand with, that Jeff said, oh, I don't want to come in and micromanage and tell you what to cut or what to, well, and I agree with that, to a point, like, one of the things, you say, like, when we do the expenses, I was dead serious about that. Have you ever looked at those to look at what the reimbursements we give to some of those employees? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's on all sides, Brenda, that's.
No, it's not. We already trimmed that. We already trimmed that. When you've got,
Because I've been on the finance committee meeting for 4 years.
when you have seven,
Since I've been on this board.
It's not even.
wait, 7 out of 11